I wanted to talk about use of force considerations because in civilian life, you can find yourself in different type of use of force situations, and it seems like everybody's only training actually involves lethal force, deadly physical force, depending on what your state is. Now, a lot of people have this idea that that's all they need to train for and that's the most important. In reality, it's not, because we're going to have contact with a lot of different personalities and people and situations, because that's just how life is. So it would probably be good to establish different threat levels, and the five threat levels are compliant, where all you need is verbals. You've got passive resistance, where people are just trying to own your space and push their limits. So you need to have an answer for that instead of just being vapor locked and being like, well, I can't use my gun yet, so what do I do? And then you got active resistance, where people are not necessarily being assaultive, where they're attempting battery on you, but they're they're really trying to get in your space and push you, and they're uh, they're kind of testing the waters and threatening, so to speak. Now, then you have the ones that are actually assaultive, where they're actually trying to inflict harm on you, and that's the part where we get into physical force, but we're not at deadly force yet. So pulling out your weapon is not really going to be a good tool of. It's not going to be a good tool for answering physical force, because that can be interpreted, depending on your state, as assault with a deadly weapon and unnecessary overuse of force, and that is a charge people encounter. So, like, you're not going to go outside when somebody's trespassing and display a gun, because that can be charged, depending on how the officers see it on scene and how courts convict and stuff like that. It can be interpreted very bad. Answering the door with a firearm is probably not a smart idea. It doesn't make you look anything more than unstable for this society. So you need to develop skills. You need to develop communication skills. And if all you carry is a gun and you don't know how to talk to people, you don't know how to interact socially, like this whole dysfunctional veteran crap. Being a veteran myself, I find that incredibly ridiculous, and I could say some very colorful things about that. But if you can't function in society, then maybe you just need to go back into the military. And those can't go back into the military, maybe you need to get over yourself. That's just kind of how it is. This is your operational environment, and you need to operate in it in a way that's going to allow you to live longer. So, anyways, nobody gets points for being an asshole. So, communication skills are important, but also tempering your mood and actually being able to answer this level, these different threat levels, with appropriate action and just enough to answer that threat is very important. So throat chopping people that are pushing you may not be the best option, because that can be interpreted as deadly force, because it can cause serious bodily injury that can require a protracted recovery time. It could also kill them. You can damage the windpipe to the point where they cannot get wind, and so that's not a good idea. You need to have different tools in your toolbox to answer that, especially in the society that we're in, where people sue at the drop of a hat. Because you can be held criminally and legally liable, and it doesn't take much to where you have to pay somebody for the rest of your life to, answer a court order. There's plenty of case study on that. And here's the thing: carrying a gun on you does not mean that you're like an officer where you can pull out your firearm in a threatening manner in order to affect the apprehension or de-escalate a situation. And so they have something called qualified immunity, where their job is to actually confront people. It is not your job to confront people or even defend your ego. It's not a good idea to sit there and try to defend your ego, Because a lot of people want to be the brave person until they get into court and they start acting like, trying to act like the victim because they realize how stupid they really were and how expensive it is to sit there and be an egomaniac. You can't talk to me like that. I'm a veteran. Well, fuck your veteran status. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you come from or what your background is. You can't afford in this day and age really to have an ego, because it will land you in hot water because you're going to become a statistic. And that's a big problem, because it's the reason why we are in the situation we are in, where it's kind of hard to live a normal life and not have to deal with bad people, because now they know how far they can push it. And it really depends on the area you're in and what the enforcement is like in your cities, because there's a lot of cities where they actually promote violence and they support criminals and minority criminals mostly. So you're operating in a fine line. And the gun does not give you permission to sit there and confront people or, even withstand your ground laws. Sitting there and egging people on and playing the fuck around and find out thing. So anyways, I just wanted to give my 2 cents on the problems with society today and why you need to have use of force training. And you need to train in different weapon systems and concepts in order to answer these different threats. Like, learn how to communicate with a trespasser. Learn what you can legally do, because every area is going to be different. So you need to learn the laws and what your capabilities are so you can operate effectively and you can actually be an asset to society instead of an asshole liability. So anyways, that's just my 2 cents. I appreciate you guys watching. Leave a comment below, and you guys have a good one.